Hello everyone, Philip here. Welcome back to Realm of Marigold. It's been great to see so many of you enjoying this series. I've got to say, the response to the last episode was amazing. Your support and comments have been incredible and I can't thank you enough for that. Today we're diving into episodes 4, 5 and 6 of the Arcanix fan series. And I think you're really going to love what's in store. Things are getting darker, more intense and definitely more emotional for the Winx, so buckle up. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, I'll leave the playlist link in the description so you can catch up. Alright, with that out of the way, grab a hot drink and let's get into it. Play the intro. Episode 4, Natural Disaster. The episode opens on a stark cliffside, where Flora lies unconscious, gradually steering as gusts of wind brush across her face. She's disoriented and confused, her head throbbing as she struggles to piece together where she is or how she got there. The surroundings feel unfamiliar and wrong, but what captures her attention first is the overwhelming pain she feels, not just in her body, but deep in her connection to the nature around her. When she opens her eyes fully, the sight that greets her is devastating. What could have been a lush landscape was just a dark, decaying shadow of itself. Flora's heart breaks at the sight. As a fairy of nature, she's severely aware of the life that once thrived here and the despair now suffocating the environment. It's as if she can hear the plants crying out in agony, their essence drained by some unknown force. Just as Flora begins to comprehend the devastation, she's startled by a voice behind her, a voice that seems to cut through the heavy hair. Turning, she's shocked to find Crystal, the princess of Lynphia, standing there as if she'd been waiting for Flora to wake up. There's a strange calmness to Crystal's demeanor, despite the ruined world surrounding them. Crystal reveals that she is the one who summoned Flora to this place, claiming that Flora's powers as the guardian of Lynphia are needed to restore the land. She explains that they are in the realm of the night, a place once vibrant and teeming with life, now corrupted beyond recognition. Flora is puzzled by the name. She's never heard of this realm, despite her knowledge of nature's magical worlds. Crystal elaborates that only the arcanes, mythical beings said to guard the souls, wishes and dreams, knew of its existence. Flora, still shaken and skeptical, recalls legends of the arcanes, but Crystal insists that they are real, and their absence is the cause of this realm's downfall. Crystal urges Flora to follow her, claiming that they need to gather supplies before they can begin healing the land. Flora, despite her unease, follows the princess into a small cabin nearby. Inside, a hidden staircase spirals downwards into the earth, each step leading them further away from the little light they had at their disposal. Flora begins to feel the weight of the plant's suffering pressing down on her again, as if the deeper they go, the more intense the pain becomes. As they descend into what it seems like an underground dungeon, Flora's natural empathy for plant life heightens. She comments on how surprised she was that the plants are still clinging to life despite the extreme conditions. Crystal, however, dismisses the notion lightly, attributing the decay to the fog and lack of sunlight, a strange answer, considering they are in the realm of the night, a place where sunlight was never abundant to begin with. Flora's instincts begin to tell her something is off. Upon reaching the bottom of the staircase, they enter a cold, dark chamber filled with eerie silence. Crystal, still maintaining her calm, offers Flora a drink she claims will help her ease her headache. Flora, trusting the princess, accepts it without hesitation. The aroma, initially soothing, starts to cloud her mind. Her body grows heavy, her eyelids drop, and her thoughts become sluggish. Crystal, watching Flora's reaction closely, finally drops her polite facade. She reveals that the drink was laced with valerian, meant to sedate Flora. Realizing she's been tricked, Flora tries to fight off the effects, but it's too late. Crystal, now unmasked as the White Nightmare, chains Flora to the walls of the dungeon with ease. She needs Flora's powers, Crystal explains. Flora's connection to nature is the key to controlling the ancient power she's after. Without a moment of hesitation, Crystal extracts Flora's bottle, claiming that soon she'll have control over nature. Flora's strength fades completely, and she loses consciousness as Crystal leaves her behind in the silent, oppressive dungeon. Sometime later, Flora awakens to the sound of footsteps echoing in the dungeon. She is still bound, weak, and drained from the loss of her magic. As she tries to gather her bearings, a shadow figure approaches. It's Rena, a small bunny who'd been searching for her. Rena immediately sets to work, using her paws to unlock Flora's chains. Once freed, Flora collapses in front of Rena, too weak to stand on her own. Rena explains that Crystal is not who she claims to be. She is actually a white nightmare, a malevolent shapeshifter that preys on powerful fairies like Flora to steal their magic. Flora is still too weak to move on her own, but Rena encourages her to fight. A brief moment of insecurity washes over her, as she remembers all the times she's felt powerless due to her sensitivity and empathy. But the bunny insists that they need to escape before Crystal returns. Knowing she's no match for Crystal in her current state, Flora tries to gather her resolve. She notices a shiny bottle decorated with ornaments of the sun and stars. She feels the urge to hold on to it and grabs it without thinking twice. They make their way towards the dungeon exit. Flora's connection to the dying plants become more overwhelming, the pain almost too much to bear. Crystal appears, her eyes blazing with fury. She had expected to already possess Flora's Arcanix powers, but something has gone wrong. Despite the magic she stole, she hasn't transformed into the powerful fairy she intended to become. Crystal demands to know why Flora's magic hasn't worked as planned. Rena, insulted by Crystal's disrespect towards Arcanix, affirms that this power isn't meant to be held by impure beings like a nightmare, and states that corrupting it will have dire consequences. With a dismissive tone, Crystal demands Flora to hand her Stella's fairy powers, believing that because they belong to a fairy who already awakened her powers, it might be the thing she needs to be able to transform. Flora, still weak but defiant, refuses to give in to Crystal's demands, and the confrontation grows tense. Just as it seems Crystal might strike, Bloom, Stella, Musa, and their fairy animals arrive on the scene. Crystal, seeing the Winx's arrival, cackles with delight. She knows they are here to help Flora, but she is also determined to get rid of all of them at once. Stella protests against the nightmare, making clear that she has no right to steal something that belongs to the Princess of Celeria or her friends. Crystal growls at their impertinence and launches an attack in order to grab the light bottle. To avoid this outcome, Flora tosses it to Bloom, who catches it without a sweat. Crystal does her best to stop them, using the control she has over nature to try to imprison them. The girls instinctively work together, trying to regain control of the situation. They pass Stella's bottle amongst themselves, hoping to empower her once again. As they toss it back and forth, each girl is determined to give it back to Stella. Musa attempts to grab the bottle midair, but as Crystal becomes infuriated, she launches a torrent of vines with all the strength she has to try to injure the girls. The Winx's efforts are overpowered as the dark vines collide with Musa. Inevitably, the bottle slips and quickly falls to the ground. Time seems to slow down as they watch in horror. The glass shatters into countless shards, scattering Stella's powers into the air like lost hopes. The realization sinks in, and Stella collapses, her eyes wide with confusion as she grapples with the loss of her identity. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Crystal wraps them all with thorn vines, and as if placing a cherry on top of a cake, the vine grows flowers that produce a strong pollen, leaving the girls nauseous and unable to use their powers. Flora feels a surge of despair at the sight of her friend's devastation, but amidst the chaos, she recalls her bond with the realm and the plants that still hold a flicker of life. She pushes through the pain and focuses on the bond she shares with organic life. With a fierce determination, she faces Crystal, no longer the timid fairy she once was. She declares that nature should never be abused and that she will fight to protect her friends and the beauty of the world around her. In response to Flora's awakening, a radiant aura begins to envelop her, the plants around her responding to her powerful declaration, blooming with life. She realizes that her empathy for living beings is not a weakness, but the source of strength that fuels her will to fight for it. Crystal watches in disbelief as Flora's magic begins to reawaken, The tension in the air is palpable as Flora calls upon her true powers, breaking free from the mental and emotional chains that had bound her. Flora fully embraces her identity as the fairy of nature and steps forward, ready to claim what is rightfully hers and to stand against the darkness that Crystal embodies. In a dazzling display of magical force, Flora unleashes her Arcanix spell, Flurry Blossom Gleam, sending a wave of pure, restorative energy throughout the landscape. The corrupted plants around her begin to heal, their vibrant colors returning as Flora's power spreads. Crystal, realizing she's been defeated, tries one final attack, but Flora easily deflects with a shield of flowers. With one final burst of magic, Crystal is overwhelmed, her form disintegrating into nothingness. With the battle won, Flora is reunited with her friends, who praise her for her strength and bravery. However, as they gather together, the relief is short-lived. As the group turns to Stella, her expression is blank, her usual spark of energy and confidence gone. When the others speak to her, Stella doesn't respond with her usual charm. Instead, she looks at them with confusion, unable to recognize even her own name, handing on the haunting note that the cost of their victory may have been far greater than they anticipated. Episode 5. Blue Reflections. The scene opens deep within the dense, enigmatic forest. The girls walk down a straight path as Musa shares her discovery of an ancient shrine she stumbled upon, hinting that it may have belonged to the Arcanes, the legendary protectors of this realm. The idea captivates Bloom, who asks for more details, prompting Musa to describe the shrine's ruined state and the faded statues of 3 fairies that adorned it. Flora's brow furrow with concern. She wonders aloud what might have happened to those fairies. Bloom, ever realistic, nods, pointing out that their surroundings wouldn't be so desolate if they were around. Arya joins in, recalling that the mysterious fairy aided them in escaping the castle, but the details remain murky. She wore a heavy cloak, hiding her identity, and vanished before they could learn more. The girls share a moment of frustration, questioning why she left so abruptly. Stella, still grappling with her lost memories, is drawn into the conversation as they wonder if she might hold the key to their friend's identity. Bloom calls out to her, encouraging her to share any recollection she might have. Stella hesitates, feeling a sense of unease wash over her, and admits that she can't quite remember. Her friends rally around her, urging her to dig deep into her thoughts. With encouragement, Stella closes her eyes, seeking to unlock the memories trapped within. As she delves into her mind, flashes of images surge forth. A silhouette of a woman in dark attire, a feather drifting through the air, and the vision of branches passing by, as if she was running away from something. Panic grips her as she realizes she cannot identify the woman, and apologizes, feeling the weight of her friend's hope resting on her shoulders. Bloom reassures her, emphasizing that they'll figure it out together. As they continue their path, Flora expresses her sadness for Stella, hoping she regains her memories soon. Musa, struggling with guilt, wishes she had acted faster to protect Stella's powers. Flora insists it wasn't Musa's fault. The nightmare that intervened was to blame. Bloom adds her support, affirming that they all did their best to keep Stella safe. Musa sighs, reminiscing about Stella's cheerful nature, which have been overshadowed by her amnesia. Flora counters with optimism, believing that they will restore Stella's spirit in time. In a show of solidarity, Bloom reminds them of the vow they took to stand by each other, no matter the challenges they face. The girls come together for a heartfelt group hug, but they realize Stella hasn't joined in. Bloom pulls her into the embrace, reinforcing their bond. The scene shifts, and we find Aisha by a tranquil water stream. Exhaustion insists across her features. She had been following the water's path for what it felt like an eternity. Seeking rest, she sits at the water's edge, dipping her toes into the refreshing flow. An unsettling silence surrounds her, stirring memories of past fears. Suddenly, she hears a familiar voice, Naboo. Shock ripples through her as she turns, disbelief coming across her face. Naboo appears, concern in his eyes, as he explained how desperately he has been searching for Aisha. Overwhelmed with joy, Aisha rushes into his arms, tears spilling over. However, beneath Naboo's warm exterior lies a sinister motive. As they embrace, he whispers promises of their future, letting her know that there is the possibility of them reuniting in the real world. Aisha, still enveloped in joy, fails to notice the flicker of manipulation in his expression. His sweet words twist her heart, leading her deeper into his web of deceit. As Aisha wrestles with her feelings, she grapples with the overwhelming grief of losing her fiancé at such a young age. Naboo had been her rock, her joy, and the love of her life. The pain of his absence lingered like a shadow over her heart, a constant reminder of the life they could have shared. She questions if she can endure the loss of him once again, fearing that any decision she makes could lead to losing him forever. Naboo instructs Aisha on how to extract the magic within her, and the atmosphere shifts. As the bottle manifests, darkness envelops Naboo, and he reveals his new form as Darkheart. Aisha's world shatters as she realizes the man she loved was never truly there. He had used her emotions against her. Heartbroken, she feels betrayed and confused, torn between the love she once had and the reality of the threat before her. The Winx arrive just in time, and they quickly assess the situation and join forces to protect Aisha from Darkheart's treachery. Bloom, Flora, and Musa unleash their spells, creating a dazzling display of light and power against the darkness that threatens to consume them. Darkheart retaliates with fierce blasts of dark magic, each attack intensifying the chaos surrounding them. In order to start cleaning up the area, Darkheart blasts Aisha with her control over fluids, sending Aisha hurtling into the now violent water stream. The girls gasp in horror, but their resolve strengthens. They can't let Aisha drown. In a panic, they rally around her, ready to leap into the stream. Just then, a malevolent smirk spreads across Darkheart's face as he uses Aisha powers against them, launching jets of water that send the girls sprawling to the ground. Struggling to rise, Flora calls out, worried for Aisha's safety, while Stella watches in fear from afar, feeling helpless. A faint light shines behind Stella, and upon turning around, she sees a white cloak decorated with stars, perfectly folded on top of a rock with a blue feather sitting on top of it. Glancing upon the feather, sorrow waits on her as a glimpse of a blue dove flashed before her eyes. Meanwhile, disoriented and weakened, Aisha fights to keep her head above the water, but the current is strong, pulling her deeper into the flow. Her strength falters, and she feels herself sinking beneath the surface. As she sinks deep into the water, a familiar warmth spreads through her chest. A soft light begins to glow around her, and Aisha feels an ethereal presence close by. It's Wade, a turtle Arcanix animal. His comforting energy reaches out to her, grounding her in this moment. Wade's voice, though silent, reverberates within her mind, reminding her of the strength she holds within, the power of the Fairy of Waves. He reminds her that she is more than her grief and more than her pain. Her powers are connected to life, flow, and resilience, just like the water she now finds herself in. The river, once cold and oppressive, becomes a source of comfort as Aisha connects with the water around her, feeling its energy merge with her own. Wade urges her to trust in herself and in the magic that still flows through her veins, no matter how broken she feels. Aisha, though still heavy with sorrow, finds a renewed sense of purpose. She knows now that she must rise, not only for her friends, but for herself. Darkheart's manipulation will not define her. As she begins to swim upwards, the water shifts once more, and a spectral figure appears before her. It's Naboo, but this time, not the corrupted vision Darkheart had conjured. This Naboo is different. His presence is soft, gentle, and familiar. Aisha feels her heart seize as his form materializes, his eyes filled with love and sorrow. This is not the man who sought to deceive her, but the spirit of her true love, reaching out from beyond the veil of death. Naboo speaks to her without words, his gaze conveying the message. He reminds her that love is eternal, even if the physical form is lost. He tells her not to carry the burden of his death alone. that his passing was not her fault, and she should not let grief consume her. He knows she has been suffering, and while he cannot stay with her, he will always be part of her. His spirit is with her, giving her strength. Aisha's tears mingle with the water around her, as Naboo's presence fills her with bittersweet peace. She knows she must let go, not of the love they shared, but of the guilt and the pain that have kept her chained. She whispers a silent farewell, promising to honor their love by continuing to fight, to live, and to protect the one she cares about. With Naboo's spirit and Wade's guidance, Aisha surges out of the water, her magic reignited with a fierce intensity. The moment her feet touch the ground, the energy of the waves surround her, and she feels her power returning in full force. The connection she shares with water has strengthened. It now pulses through her with the same clarity and strength she found within herself. Aisha unleashes her own Arcanix spell, flooding oceans, summoning a burst of energy that resonates through the forest. The glow of her newfound power shines bright, illuminating the darkness around her. With the support of her friends, she channels the strength of their friendship, summoning a massive wave that surges towards Darkar. The tidal force crashes down upon him, overwhelming his dark magic and rendering him powerless. Aisha stands tall, empowered by her love for her friends and the memories of Naboo, channeling her pain into strength. As Darkar is defeated, she feels a bittersweet sense of closure. She has avenged the betrayal, but must now learn to live without the love she once held. As the dust settles, Aisha turns to her friends, a mixture of relief and sadness in her eyes. Her heart is heavy, but there is also a sense of closure. She had faced her past, the love she lost, and the darkness that tried to consume her, and in the end, she emerged stronger. Flora approaches her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Without words, Aisha knows they all felt the weight of what she had endured, but they also know that she had found the strength to rise again, to face the nightmare and to reclaim her power. Yet, a shadow lingers in her heart as they remember Tecna's absence. Stella hesitates with the feather she founds, pondering whether to share its significance, but ultimately keeps it close, sensing it might hold the answer she still needs. Wade, who has been watching closely, pipes up about Link's sighting near the castle, igniting a renewed sense of purpose amongst the group. With determination, they set off to find their missing friend, ready to confront whatever dangers await them. At the end of the woods, Tecna, who finally uncovers the source of dark energy, soon finds that it seems to be coming from the castle in front of her. Relief washes over Tecna, but a shadow looms behind her, hinting at the danger that lies in wait. Episode 6, Technomagic Trap. The episode opens with an eerie zoom through the shadowy halls of the castle, eventually settling in the throne room, where the Queen's mysterious servant presents her with the broken remains of Stella's light bottle. The Queen remains calm, reflecting on how one of her creations failed to follow her orders and broke the artifact. Despite the woman's disdainful suggestion to dispose of the creature, the Queen is indifferent, believing it's more fitting to trap the failure inside the Despair Orb to serve as a lesson for others. We see a glimpse of the Despair Orb, where the trapped white nightmare that possesses crystal appearance begs for mercy, but her cries are ignored. The Queen's plan then becomes clear. She intends to use the light bottle's remains with the essence of her dark powers, manipulating its magic for a darker purpose. She orders the intimidating woman to find Stella, subtly warning her not to repeat past mistakes. The woman, fueled by resentment and vengeance, leaves the throne room, determined to succeed this time. As she makes her way through the castle's ominous corridors, she spies Tecna outside the gates. Her rage boils as she curses the presence of another Winx girl, vowing revenge as she prepares to confront Stella. Meanwhile, Tecna inspects the castle's sealed gates with curiosity, accompanied by Link, the mysterious creature she befriended. Tecna is intrigued by the strong dark energy radiating from the castle. Link shares his uncertainty about the place, recounting the vague memory he has of being inside the castle, but having no clear understanding of its mysteries. Tecna, touched by Link's uncertain past, assures him with a comforting promise to show him her favorite places in Magix once their mission is over. Turning her focus to the castle's sealed entrance, Tecna attempts to push open the massive doors to no avail. Despite her repeated efforts, the ancient wooden doors won't budge. While Link searches the surrounding area for another way in, Tecna's sharp eye catches a sight of a strange Technomagic gem embedded above the gate. She hypothesized that the gem might be responsible for keeping the gates locked. Pulling out her PDA, Tecna tries various codes combinations, only to realize that she needs a password to unlock the gem's mechanism. Tecna hesitates, worried that forcing the lock through hacking could be dangerous. Just as she debates the next step, her senses sharpen when she hears a scratching sound behind her. She swiftly turns, eyes narrowing as a shadowy figure tries to conceal itself behind the trees. Tecna immediately recognizes the form emerging from the shadows. It's the figure of Avalon, an old professor who had once been impersonated by a dark being in the past. His appearance triggers a wave of memories, but Tecna remains calm, her analytical mind working to access the situation rather than being swayed by emotions. Avalon's appearance is unnerving, but Tecna doesn't flinch. He hints at a dangerous alternative way to enter the castle without needing the password, suggesting for Tecna to enter a virtual security simulation. The offer feels like a trap, but Avalon knows exactly how to taunt her, by challenging her intelligence and daring her to outsmart the system. Tecna, initially suspicious, is not intimidated. She weighs her options, but the urgency of their mission pushes her to make a risky decision. Link returns from his scouting, having found no other way around the castle. Tecna, still conflicted, informs him of Avalon's proposal and tells him to stay behind for his safety. But Link insists on facing whatever comes their way together. With a determined nod, Tecna decides to activate the alternate option on her PDA. The gemstones above the gates flare to life, and in an instant, a powerful portal forms before them. Its force pulls them in violently, leaving Tecna and Link with no time to react. The Winx arrive to witness their friends' dematerialization, but their efforts to assist them fall short. They were too late, and they now had to hope that Tecna and Link would be okay. Tecna and Link are transported into a pixelated, distorted dimension. The environment around them is filled with glitching structures and floating data streams. This is the heart of the Technomagic system guarding the castle. As they try to adjust to this new world, Avalon reappears, this time smugly boasting about his trap. The atmosphere grows more hostile as Avalon prepares to attack, confident that Tecna will fail to escape his digital web. Tecna immediately assesses their disadvantage. Trapped in this virtual world, she knows they are now data, vulnerable to being deleted at any moment. The stakes are higher than ever. As Avalon launches his first dark spell, Tecna's quick thinking saves them both, but it's clear that they need a plan to escape. Hiding behind a crumbling pillar, Tecna hastily begins to code the defense mechanism on her PDA. Avalon grows impatient and unleashes his magic, collapsing parts of the environment, pixelated debris flying through the air. Link, seeing Tecna's desperation, volunteers to distract Avalon, giving her more time to work. He dashes into the open, taunting Avalon, who angrily gives chase. Tecna furiously types, knowing she has only moments to finish. As Avalon closes in on Link, Tecna finally completes her defense system. With a burst of Technomagic, she fires a blast at Avalon, who barely manages to block it. Frustrated, Avalon tightens his grip on Link, trapping him in electrified vines. Tecna tries to launch another attack, but Avalon destroys her PDA, leaving her seemingly helpless. Hearing Link's voice, Tecna's attention shifts from the endless coding and failed programs to the deep bond she shares with her fairy animal. Link represents something more than just a companion. He embodies the emotional intelligence and heart that Tecna often suppresses behind her logical mind. Seeing Link in danger reminds her of the importance of balance between logic and emotion, technology and magic. For a moment, Tecna feels overwhelmed, on the verge of succumbing to despair. She's tempted to think the nightmare was right, that without her devices, she's powerless. But then, something shifts inside her. Tecna remembers her promise to Link. After this mission, she would take him to see all the beautiful places and magics. That small heartfelt commitment resurfaces in her mind, pushing through her fear. She realizes that she's been so focused on solving everything through technology that she's forgotten about the deeper magical connection she shares with her fairy animal and with magic itself. Tecna's inner conflict is laid bare. For so long, she has leaned on her devices, her intellect, and the logical part of her mind. But now, she begins to understand that the true power lies in the harmony between her magic and her technological prowess. She doesn't need to rely on gadgets alone. Her true strength comes from within herself. In a soft moment, despite being trapped, Link offers Tecna more than just words of support. His presence serves as a reminder that she is not alone in this fight. His unwavering belief in her, his trust in her abilities, strengthens her resolve. Tecna looks at him, understanding that they are bound by something deeper than just a magical contract. They are partners in every sense. Tecna finally accepts that she can't be just a fairy of technology, who only uses her intellect to solve problems. She is also a magical being, capable of much more when she embraces both sides of herself, causing a spark that ignites her Arcanix transformation. In a rush of adrenaline, Tecna uses her Arcanix spell, Smart Key Unlocker. A spark of Technomagic strikes the ceiling, opening the same portal that first absorbed them into this dimension. Avalon becomes powerless to stop her, and to finish him off for good, she uses her attack spell, Hyperlocal Crash. As the Technomagic dimension crumbles around them, Tecna and Link lock eyes. In that moment, no words are necessary. Link smiles at her, not just with gratitude, but with pride in the fairy Tecna has become. She has shown him, and herself, that she is more than just the sum of her gadgets and intelligence. Back in the realm of the night, Tecna and Link are found unconscious outside the castle gates, where the rest of the Winx have been preoccupied waiting for them. With concern in their voices, the girls revive Tecna, who slowly opens her eyes, relieved to see her friends again. Bloom and the others are thrilled to see Tecna's new Arcanix form, and that her actions also unlock the castle gates. They all hug in relief, allowing this brief moment to celebrate their reunion. With their path now clear, the group prepares to enter the castle, sure that time for answers is drawing near. The mood shifts ominously as Stella, separated from the others, walks through a path beside the castle. The air is thick with magic, but it's not the kind of magic she's accustomed to. It feels darker, more seductive. Suddenly, a voice begins to call her name, faint at first, but growing louder with each step she takes. It's a soft whispering sound, alluring and almost hypnotic, pulling at her curiosity and instincts. As she follows the voice deeper into the mist, a figure emerges. It is Cassandra, the real one this time, claiming to be her mother, who had been worried sick for her daughter. Stella, confused and vulnerable, listens as Cassandra offers her a way to regain her lost powers. She offers a dark bottle to Stella, assuring her that by awakening its magic, she'll regain her lost memories and powers. A dark energy swirls around Stella, enveloping her, trying to tempt her into absorbing it. A sinister laugh echoes through the forest, as if a dark force was celebrating its accomplishment.